On the afternoon of June 12, 2025, a routine international flight turned into a national tragedy. Air India Flight AI-171, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner with registration VTANB, departed from Ahmedabad's Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport at 1:39 Indian Standard Time. It was bound for London Gatwick, a long-haul journey filled with passengers heading for business, family reunions and holidays. However, the flight's journey was cut tragically short. Almost immediately after lifting off from runway 23, the pilots issued a Mayday call, a universal signal of grave and imminent danger. This distress signal was the last communication received from the aircraft before it disappeared from radar screens, and all contact was lost. The aircraft, heavily laden with fuel for its extensive trip across continents, met its disastrous end in the densely populated Magani Nagar area, not far from the airport. Eyewitnesses reported seeing the plane flying dangerously low before it struck the airport's perimeter wall. The impact was catastrophic, as the Dreamliner then collided with a doctor's hostel building before erupting into a massive fireball. The explosion sent shockwaves through the neighborhood, scattering debris over a wide area and igniting secondary fires. The horrifying scene marked the first ever fatal hull loss of a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, a record the aviation world had hoped would never be broken. The flight path was supposed to carry it northwest over Pakistan and onwards to Europe, a familiar route for many travelers between India and the United Kingdom. Instead, its final moments were confined to the skies just above Ahmedabad. The aircraft, a modern and generally reliable model in the aviation industry, was carrying a diverse group of individuals from various backgrounds. The suddenness of the event left no time for preparation or warning for those on the ground who were suddenly thrust into the middle of a major aviation disaster. The crash site immediately became a scene of chaos and devastation, with the burning wreckage painting a grim picture against the afternoon sky. The immediate aftermath was one of confusion and horror. Residents of Magani Nagar, who had been going about their daily lives, were now witnesses to an unthinkable event. The sound of the impact was described as deafening, followed by the sight of flames and thick black smoke. The aircraft's collision with the hostel building caused significant structural damage, compounding the tragedy with ground-level casualties and injuries. The proximity of the crash to the airport meant that initial response teams were nearby, yet the scale of the disaster presented an immense and immediate challenge for even the most prepared emergency services in the city. The aircraft was carrying a total of 242 individuals. This number included 230 passengers and a dedicated crew of 12 members, consisting of 2 pilots and 10 cabin crew personnel. The passenger manifest revealed a mix of nationalities, with the majority being 169 Indian citizens and 53 British nationals. Additionally, there were 7 passengers from Portugal and 1 from Canada on board. The flight was nearly full, reflecting the popular route between the major hubs of Ahmedabad and London. The crew, led by the experienced Captain Sumit Sabharwal, was prepared for a standard flight, but they were faced with an insurmountable crisis moments after takeoff. Tragically, the crash resulted in a devastating loss of life. Initial reports from the scene confirmed that a recovery operation was underway, but the intensity of the fire made the task incredibly difficult. Authorities have recovered at least 204 bodies, a figure that tragically includes fatalities from the ground where the plane impacted the hostel. The official word from authorities is that they fear all 242 people on the plane have perished. Amidst the grim news, however, there were faint glimmers of hope. Miraculously, 2 survivors were pulled from the wreckage. One was identified as a British passenger found near an emergency exit, while the other was located in seat 11A. Among the passengers confirmed to be on the flight was Vijay Rupani, the former Chief Minister of Gujarat, who served from 2016 to 2021. His presence on the passenger list brought a high-profile dimension to the tragedy, and his death was later confirmed by officials, sending shockwaves through the political community in India. The flight was under the command of Captain Sumit Sabharwal, who had accumulated over 8,200 flight hours. He was assisted by First Officer Clive Kunder, a younger pilot with 1,100 hours of flying experience. It was also revealed that First Officer Kunder was related to the well-known actor Vikrant Massey, adding another layer of personal tragedy to the devastating event. The human toll extended beyond those on the aircraft. The crash inflicted casualties and injuries on the ground, with approximately 50 local residents and individuals in the impacted building requiring immediate medical attention. They were rushed to the civil hospital in Ahmedabad, which quickly activated its emergency protocols to handle the influx of patients. For the families of the passengers and crew, the hours following the crash were filled with agonizing uncertainty. Air India and government authorities scrambled to set up helplines and support centers in Ahmedabad, Delhi, and Mumbai to provide information and assistance to the grief-stricken relatives who were desperate for any news about their loved ones. In the immediate aftermath of the crash, a massive and coordinated emergency response was launched. The first to arrive at the fiery scene in Magani Nagar were local fire services, deploying 7 fire engines to combat the intense blaze fueled by thousands of kilograms of jet fuel. Ambulances quickly followed, navigating through crowded streets to reach the site and begin the critical task of triaging and transporting the injured. A green corridor was swiftly established by traffic police, clearing a direct route to the civil hospital in Ahmedabad. This allowed ambulances to bypass traffic and get the injured, both from the plane and the ground, to medical care as quickly as possible. The scale of the disaster prompted the mobilization of specialized national rescue teams. 3 teams from the National Disaster Response Force, totaling around 90 highly trained personnel, were dispatched from their base in Gandhinagar. They were later reinforced by 3 additional teams from Vadodara. The Indian Army also deployed 130 personnel to assist with the complex search and rescue operation, alongside 2 teams from the Border Security Force. These teams brought specialized equipment for cutting through the wreckage and searching for survivors in the unstable debris field, working tirelessly through the night under difficult and hazardous conditions. Support came from various other agencies as well, highlighting a multi-agency effort to manage the crisis. The Western Railway dispatched its disaster management teams to the location to provide logistical support and assistance. The primary focus of the combined effort was twofold: to extinguish the fire completely, to prevent further explosions, and to carefully search for any signs of life within the smoldering remains of the Boeing 787 and the damaged building. The work was painstaking and emotionally taxing for the rescuers, who faced a scene of immense destruction while knowing that hundreds of lives had been lost in the incident. Ahmedabad's Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport temporarily suspended all operations as a safety precaution and to facilitate the emergency response. The airport's own emergency crews were among the first to be activated, given the crash's proximity to their location. While the airport has since resumed limited flight operations, the incident caused significant disruptions to air travel in the region. Air India, the operator of the flight, immediately acknowledged the incident and began the process of supporting the families. The airline arranged special relief flights from Delhi and Mumbai to bring relatives of the passengers and crew to Ahmedabad, providing them with accommodation and counseling during this difficult time. As rescue and recovery operations continue, a formal investigation into the cause of the crash has been launched. India's top aviation authorities, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, and the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, are leading the inquiry. Their primary tasks will be to locate and recover the aircraft's flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, commonly known as the black boxes. These devices are crucial as they hold vital information about the plane's performance, flight parameters, and the conversations between the pilots in the final moments before the crash. Their analysis will be key to understanding what went wrong. While it is far too early to determine a definitive cause, initial speculation among aviation experts has begun to surface. Some have pointed towards a potential mechanical failure involving the aircraft's flaps or landing gear systems. One of the key questions being asked is why the plane's landing gear appeared to be down at the time of the impact, an unusual configuration for an aircraft that should have been in its initial climb phase. Investigators will meticulously examine the maintenance records of the aircraft, the history of the flight crew, and all available air traffic control communications to piece together the sequence of events that led to this catastrophic failure. The news of the crash sent ripples of shock and sorrow across the globe. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi described the incident as heartbreaking and assured that all possible assistance was being provided to those affected. President Draupadi Murmu, Home Minister Amit Shah, and Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel also expressed their profound grief. Given the large number of British nationals on board, condolences poured in from the United Kingdom. King Charles III, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and Foreign Secretary David Lammy all issued statements expressing their sorrow and solidarity with India during this time of mourning. International leaders, including Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, also extended their condolences, reflecting the global nature of air travel and the shared sense of loss that follows such a disaster. The aircraft manufacturer Boeing has also reached out to Air India, offering technical support and assistance for the ongoing investigation. As the world waits for answers, the focus remains on supporting the families of the victims and honoring the memory of the 242 people who tragically lost their lives on Flight AI-171. The investigation will be long and complex, but it is a necessary step toward ensuring such a tragedy is never repeated.